Okay, so far we've done direct parries to go between the high lines and between the low lines, so between 3 and 4 and between 2 and 7. But what happens when you have to change both sides from inside to outside or outside to inside, as well as high to low or low to high? So for instance, what do you need to do when you go from parrying your left shoulder to your right hip, or parrying from your left hip to your right shoulder, or vice versa? These are not going to be direct parries. These are known as indirect parries, or circular parries, or specifically half circular parries or half counter parries. Lots of different names for this concept, but they are not direct. That means the sword is going to have to change direction during it. And the reason for that is because whenever we parry, we always need to cross our hearts. Some people refer to it as crossing your center line. But here's what that means. If I have just parried low on my right hip, so parry 2, and then somebody comes up here to attack my shoulder, well, what I need to do is I need to push my blade away from me in order to parry that. If instead I parry like this, bringing my sword out and bringing it into position like this, well, what I am doing is I'm running the risk of grabbing their sword and bringing it in towards me. And that's very bad for both me and my partner. So instead, what I need to do is I need to bring my sword in and then cross my heart to push the sword out. So the true edge of the blade is literally going across my center line in the direction of the true edge of the blade, in the direction of the parry, pushing the parry away from my body. And then vice versa, if I need to go from 3 back down to 2, I'm going to bring the tip of the blade in, and then I'm going to push out. Okay? So these are half circular or half counter parries, but they're pretty uncommon. Usually we're going to be switching from high to low and from inside to outside or vice versa. So we're going to be changing diagonally. We did this a lot in quarterstaff, for instance. You notice that it was very, very easy to go from a shoulder attack on one side to a hip attack on the other, and vice versa. The same thing is true for broadsword. It's much easier to go from a shoulder to a hip on the opposite side. So let's take a look at these half-counter indirect parries. Let's start by going from 3 to 7. So here's my parry 3. Now to get to 7, what I need to do is I need to bring the tip of the blade out, supinate my right palm, weight shift back, and then bring it over in that golf swing movement. Then to go back, I weight shift forward, I bring the tip of the blade out, I pronate my hand, weight shift back, and then bring it across in parry 3. So in both cases, my sword is crossing my center line, and I'm also changing the direction. I bring the tip of the blade out, and then bring it across. Bring the tip of the blade out, bring it across. Tip of the blade out, across, tip of the blade out, across. And as I do that, I am changing the pronation or supination of my wrist so that the true edge of the blade is moving across my body towards the parry, catching their blade and pushing it out away from me. So that's going from 3 to 7. Let's take a look at going from 4 to 2. So here's my parry 4, right here. To get down to 2, I weight shift forward. The tip of the blade goes out. I pronate my wrist, weight shift back, bring it across to 2. Weight shift forward, tip of the blade goes out. I supinate my wrist, weight shift back, bring it across to 4. Tip of the blade out, pronate, parry. Tip of the blade out, supinate, parry. Tip of the blade out, pronate, parry. Tip of the blade out, supinate, parry. That's going from 4 to 2. So here's what I need you to do. I need to see both of these sequences, please. Record yourself doing these half counter parries from 3 to 7, back to 3, back to 7. Then film yourself going from 4 to 2, back to 4, back to 2. All right, that's all for this week. Have fun.